Welcome everybody to the last meeting of Council for the month of December. And I'd like to acknowledge the Kaurna people, acknowledge that the land today we meet on is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and respect their spiritual and ongoing relationship with their country. And we also acknowledge that they're the custodians of the Adelaide region and their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Also read you the Council Pledge. We seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of our united task, praying for the peace and prosperity of our city. Thank you, members. Take a seat. Anybody like to declare a conflict of interest tonight at all, any item?
Can I? Maybe. Only say maybe.
Maybe.
The fact that I'm using my iPad tonight and not any other form of document, I got no idea. I can't find an agenda for tonight, so I don't know if I've got a conflict. I think I have, but I don't know if I have because I can't find an agenda.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait till that time arises. Should you find one, for you to let us know. So please continue to do that when it comes up, if you think you have.
Yes.
So, recorded.
You can't find it on the email.
Yeah,
I haven't got an email.
Go to City of Property.
23.2. I've been there. I've visited.
Give us a thing.
I
couldn't find it.
Apparently I have conflict of interest if it comes up tonight about the Citizen of the Year.
Item 23.2, which is a confidential item. Right. Due to a... Yeah, related to a person's name. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, anyone else? No? All good? Thank you. On leave we have nil. Apologies, nil. Confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meetings for Council on Tuesday the 24th of November. We'd like to move that they be accepted. Councillor Booth, seconded Councillor Barnett. Any discussion? No? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And over the page, the next item, Mayor's update. Mayoral report on page 1 and 2. Very quick check. So it's still current. I don't have any additions, I don't think. Has anybody got any questions? No? Someone happy to move it? Councillor Lee. Seconder. Councillor Booth. Any questions? Comment? Debate? All those in favour? Yes, carried. Verbal reports from council reps and local government or community organisations. Any? I've been given notice that we have invited a report from councillors Larwood and Evans on the digital transformation project with regard to services. It's not strictly speaking in the right spot in the agenda, but there is no other spot in the agenda that's more appropriate. The two councillors prepared to give a verbal report on that update. Just seek leave of the meeting that we accept that verbal report. I'll just have a show of hands, all those in favour. It's carried. If you could provide that, I'm not sure who wants to start, whether it's one of you or both of you.
Might just say a few things, and I guess the reason we're providing this report is because at the time we resolved to set up this initiative, we undertook to provide a report back to the December council meeting. So we're fulfilling that commitment. Since we organised and resolved to go ahead with our digital transformation program, we organised a workshop which was conducted about a month ago, and it was run by Brett Morris of GI Digital, whose organisation generously gave their time to work with us, to work with 3 other local governments and AAA participants. There was a really good amount of discussion that was had, and I think Matt and I, and we should all be very pleased and proud of the level of discussion that was had. It was around the future of local government and what that can mean and the opportunities that are around both for collaboration as well as for some kind of a future state that we would all want to see. Moving forward from there, our hope is to put together that working group that we discussed and that the report spoke to. That will be somewhat involved as it requires collaboration with other councils, and we're well on our way to achieving that. We do have various expressions of interest that we're hoping to work towards coming to a resolution and to a working group in the early stages of the new year. So that's really all that I think I would want to contribute. Matt, if you wanted to add to that. Councillor Larwood.
Yeah. Councillor Larwood.
No, thanks, Carl. That's a good summary. I will say thanks to Ginny for her support, the acting CEO, for her support, and also the Mayor for his support. And these things don't always move as quickly as what we would have liked them to move, but they're still well underway, and we expect to hit the ground running in the new year and achieved some good results in the first half of the calendar year.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you for your verbal report. And there'll be recorded in the minutes that you provide the verbal report satisfies the earlier request. And keep going, more power your arms. Petitions, we have nil. Deputations, nil. Motions of notice, nil. Questions with notice, nil. Questions without notice.
I have one.
Councillor Stanley.
Yes, my question is to the Director of Infrastructure and Environment. Can you advise Council as to whether DIPTI consulted with the community on the proposed ban on the right-hand turning from Regency Road onto Hillsdale Road, and if so, what was the community response?
Director.
Through the Mayor, DIPTI did in fact consult with residents in that precinct. The area is bound by, well, the letters that went out, the area that is bound by Prospect Road, Beatrice Street, Churchill Road, Livingston, roughly 1,000 letters went out. From those 1,000 letters, we received 27 responses. 27 responses, 11 people were opposed to the right-hand changes, right-hand turning movement changes. 5 people were supportive, and 11 people just wanted further information.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I, as a supplemental to that, can I just ask, I don't remember that information coming up when we had our workshop, and I might have missed it, when we had our workshop. And then,
Councillor, this is just reserved for questions.
so the question is, at what point did that information, if we had it, have we ever been supplied with that information before today?
I thought we had, but I'll ask the Director.
Through the Mayor, I reckon we had had that information, and that was distributed through the process, whether it was a workshop or through a memorandum. I can't clearly put my finger on when it was.
I might take the exact time on notice, Director, but
Can do that.
I recall us being notified there was a survey and the type of responses and the nature of the range of responses.
Thank you. That's
Anything further?
no.
Any other questions without notice? We'll move on to the protocol and advise you that I'll be withdrawing item 13.1 for questions. There's 11 items in that item. Sorry, I'll just keep going through. Does anybody wish to withdraw item 15.1, status update communication strategy? Councillor Bowman. Item 15.2, I'll withdraw because we need to nominate a working party. 15.3, feedback on liquor licensing discussion papers. Anybody wish to withdraw that? Councillor Bowman. 19.1, recruitment of independent audit committee member, just the process. Anybody wish to withdraw that? No. The 19.2, Local Government Act amendments, conflict of interest provisions. Anybody wish to withdraw that? No. 19.3, bylaw specifications, taking all our feedback as far as I can see. Anybody wish to withdraw that? No. And 19.4, release of draft strategic plan for community consultation. I will withdraw because there's been some slight edits and response to feedback. I just want us to all be really clear what's changed. And I think you've got an updated version in front of you to have a look at as you go through the meeting, and changes are highlighted just for information. So can I have someone move on block items 19.1, 19.2 and 19.3?
So moved.
Councillor Lee, do I have a seconder?
Harris.
Councillor Harris. No discussion. All those in favour? Against, they all carry. So the 13.1, I've withdrawn the audit committee meeting simply because there are 11 items, and simply to take questions in case there are any on that. And if there are no questions, Councillor Barnett, if you wish to move it as the... Sorry, Councillor Evans.
Just a question / a brief statement / wanting to speak to it.
So for debate, Councillor Barnett, are you happy to move it?
I'm happy to move it, and I think you can see there that we do quite a thorough job, so I just commend all the items to you, and that includes the updated employee conflict of interest policy.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bowman, do you wish to speak to it? Okay, Councillor Evans.
One of the things I really get excited about is the long-term financial plan, and I'm sure we're probably all in that category. Yeah, it's a great read. Around these targets that we've got for our dashboard and what we're looking to incorporate as part of our key financial indicators, they haven't changed, and so I guess they seem quite reasonable and quite plausible, and I do support them. I think the interesting thing there though is the asset sustainability ratio, and I more just wanted to note it, is that we're talking about a ratio of between 100% to 120%. So that is that ordinarily we replenish our assets and meet what it is the long-term financial asset plan is talking to us about. When I look at what's in the annual business plan though, I noticed that for a lot of the long-term goals that we've got on this dashboard, we don't quite get there, and that's probably the one exception in that everything else tends to be over under slightly given a year, whereas consistently across the board for the asset sustainability ratio we are lower than what would be expected, as low as I believe 50% was the actual in 2014. So not that that's anything to necessarily cause us to want to debate the audit committee's recommendations, but other than just to note that as part of that, trying to get as close to the asset sustainability ratio as we can is something that I would consider very insightful. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Something to pay attention to and raise again, Councillor Evans, so I encourage you to do that during the annual business planning phase. Thank you. Any further debate on this item? Councillor Barnett, do you need to sum up?
No.
Okay, that concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against is carried. Next item withdrawn was item 15.1, communication strategy on page 15. Councillor Bowman, just a brief reason why you withdrew it.
Just in response to the brevity of brief of the response. So I just wanted a bit more elaboration in regards to the process.
So that's just your brief reason. Did you wish to move it in its current form?
Yes.
Okay, so Karen, you've got 5 minutes if you need it.
I'm doing that. So through the chair, I just wanted some more clarification from the director with the timing, because it sort of says in the early part of next year. So again, not having been in council before for a communication strategy, is that something that we're doing in combination with the strategic plan, or is it something that's going to be done anyway?
Through the chair, it will run separately to the strategic plan. It's a strategy in its own right, and the report just speaks of it essentially kicking off with the appointment of a consultant early in the new year and continuing through until completion prior to end of financial year, in line with those overall end of business plan objective.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Bowman?
Again, just through the chair, would it be possible to have an example of what councillors should expect in the kind of brief that we would put out to communications person? I guess I just see it as an area that we need to strengthen, and I just want to make sure we get it right. So would it come back to council before we engage a consultant?
Through the chair, not commonly, and it wasn't the intent to have the elected members involved in the engagement of the consultant, but certainly once engaged, the first discussion with them would be, I guess, heavily focused on what the elected members want to see from the communication strategy. That was the intent. That's what the project brief has gone to market stating. Essentially, we have a requirement to do a communication strategy for a number of reasons. We seek expressions from the market to put in, to do so based on timeframes, expertise, their understanding of doing this type of work in local government. So once we receive all that, the staff would appoint someone in line, unless the estimates or the quotes came back above the budget amount, and then return to the chamber for that discussion.
Okay, thank you. So we get a chance for input once they're appointed. Okay. Councillor Bowman, anything further? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lee, do you wish to speak to it? Any further debate? That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against is carried. Next item withdrawn is 15.2, a Library Plus update, shortlist of potential locations. You've got the report, but the recommendation is that we commence in-depth analysis and we set up a working group to work closely with the director. We've done this for all our major projects, and it's a way of streamlining the discussion, not the approval phases, but the discussion, and it works pretty well. There was some interest expressed before, and the directors informed me he just wants to make sure that council is happy with the working party. As all of them, they don't exclude anybody else knocking on the door, but they are providing that accountability and responsibility to that group of people. So does anybody wish to nominate for being on that working party? Councillor Harris, you're putting your hand up.
Yes, I did have a couple of questions, but the way you spoke, Chair, the way you spoke is already, we've picked someone. Have we already done that?
No, this is the purpose tonight.
Sorry, it's the way it come out of your mouth. If it's after Christmas, I'm willing to put myself forward.
Okay.
And I've got other questions, but
I'll take specifically the nominations for the working group. So Councillor Harris has put his hand up. I saw Councillor Barnett. Bowman.
Yeah.
I think we're all interested.
Brandon.
Is there a limit?
Sorry, Lee.
Before you go to the first secret ballot.
So that's a very big working party,
Well,
and we can have that. There's no problem with that. It may just become a little unwieldy as long as you're prepared to work efficiently and effectively, I guess. I'm saying that because the director probably can't say that to you. Normally we have 3. This interest, this is a major project, so I'm not surprised lots of people want to be involved in it. But unless there's some objection, the recommendation does not require a specific number. Okay, so I'm going to ask someone to move and insert the names of everybody around to Councillor Harris and Lowe.
I'm just going to get it out.
I wasn't trying to point you outwards. Okay, that's everyone. So that to me doesn't look like a working group. That looks like council.
But it might become a working.
it might have different areas to look at.
Once there's been a couple of rounds of.
So can I just recommend that we change the word following, comprise the following, change that to all, then we don't need names, and then that's fine.
Yep.
Does that include yourself?
Yes, I'm ex officio on anything we set up. So we normally don't specifically record the mayor, because as soon as we do that, it applies on all the other ones. It's the dangerous territory. So that's what I'll ask someone to move now. That's fine. Is there any other questions? Questions from Councillor Harris?
Not on number 2, but number 1.
Yep.
I find a little bit strange when we went through them, and I thought our discussion, particularly about the North Park one, we ended up coming to the conclusion of not including it as opposed to including it. That's my opinion. My question goes, wasn't that the case?
We had an email.
Director?
Through the chair, there was definitely a mood of the room that the leasing options within North Park were off the table. There may be other options at that site, which we didn't go through on the night, and we had a meeting, another director and myself had a meeting about some other matters with North Park and asked whether or not the site was still at heart of the thinking. And I explained that the lease option within the current North Park building had been discussed and essentially removed from the table. And they put forward a view, well, there's plenty of other potential at the site that could be worthy of pursuing. They've got land beyond their existing site. They talked, would we be interested in a land swap? I said, I can't speak for the council. However, if there are other options, I think doing a due diligence to include that consideration before striking it off. Because we certainly seem to have a party over there that is willing to talk to us and willing to work with us. I'm not saying that that's going to end up in our top 2 or our number 1, but the discussion at the workshop initially was relatively closed in one example of what could happen at North Park. It appears there are many other options worthy of pursuing, and given that we didn't rule it out as a location, more as a delivery model, it stayed on the list.
Could I suggest, Director, what you're talking about would be better expressed if we said North Park Shopping Centre precinct? Sure. That seems to reflect where you're at and probably answers that question. Do you have a further question, Councillor Harris?
No, I'll make a comment about it, and if no one else has questions, I'll actually move the item.
Oh, okay. All right. Any other questions? Councillor Harris has indicated he wishes to move it.
Okay, in moving, I have a little bit of a difference there, because I didn't think we were, in particular North Park, just talking about the leasing, was about being associated with a shopping centre and all that. But even though we've got that included and we haven't got names, I'm willing to move it, and that little working group that we had have, or everyone that Matt shows up, it doesn't necessarily tie us. Doesn't necessarily tie us just even to be discussing those four things, because to me other places could come up that we start looking at, and it's not going to be a quick process. So I move it because I do think next year, apart from the Main North Road and the Broadview Oval and all these other ones, I think it's going to be a big important issue through the year. So I'm happy to move it as it is.
Thank you. Got a second, Councillor Barnett. Run the race.
Yes. Yes, I think I do, in relation to the North Park Shopping Centre precinct, I do remember a following up email coming around to us, and so obviously some people like me have replied saying, well, if there's something they're prepared to be discussing something, it behoves us, to have a look at it. So that was my memory of that. And also, I'm on the national board of the Friends of Libraries Australia, and we had a meeting in Melbourne last week. And from there, I got some very good ideas in Victoria libraries, some of the newest, most modern ones. So I'm just doing, collecting all the information, and I'll send that around to everybody as well.
Any further debate? Councillor Evans?
Just on the North Park shopping centre, or precinct as it is now, was thinking about it as I was scooting here from work, and I actually support it still being included. Certainly not my top option, but in the context of what we want to do, we don't know. And I think that's the big unknown in all of this, is we want something that is noteworthy. We want something that is of a regional / national / maybe even international significance. And I think for us to get there, for us to get to a point where we've got a truly unique and memorable centre, we are going to need to collaborate. We're going to need to collaborate with someone at some point in time. And our discussion so far has been very focused on what it is that we see as opportunities. And what I look forward to this working group doing is really exploring that outwards, having a chat to the North Park guys, having a chat to potentially other councils as well. And I'm really interested in seeing how we can collaborate and create a regional centre. And so all of those opportunities, I think through discussions with other parties and the community at large, will start to uncover what's possible. So while North Park, certainly not my top option, and it doesn't sound like it's got support around the room for it being a top option, it is one that I think is worthy of consideration and putting in the mix, given we don't know what it is we don't know yet. So with that, I fully support the motion.
Thank you. Further debate? Councillor Lowe.
I really don't think we support it as an elected member group, the North Park Shopping Centre precinct. But I'd like to make sure that we're rolling in our discussions around this project with the broader Main North Road Master Plan, and make sure that we get things addressed in the right order. I wouldn't like to see us going down one path and then realising that it's adult or not aligned with what we've come up with from the broader opportunity. So Main North Road Master Planning, this is probably stating the obvious, but it is a significant opportunity for our council to leverage what could happen over the next 10 to 15 years along Main North Road. And so it's critical that we don't go down, I guess, different pathways with investigating what our options are. So how do we make sure that we're working hand in hand with whatever's going on from the Main North Road Master Plan is important to me, so I look forward to seeing that unfold, discussions unfold.
Thank you. Councillor Stan.
I'm another one who's not particularly enamored with the idea of North Park as a location, but I think with the new information, if there's leasehold would have certainly been totally off the table, but if there's some discussion that can be had where we can get interested in the site again, I'm certainly happy for at least it to be on the list. I mean, it doesn't cost us anything for it to be on the list, and if that brings up something interesting, well, so be it, but I don't hold out.
Just from the chair, I'll take a couple of minutes. I think it's fantastic everybody wants to be on this working group. It's a pretty major decision. I agree with Councillor Harris. And we only do these things every 40 years, whatever it is. It used to be in the town hall, out at Thomas Street Centre. Who knows where the next one will be? But we've made significant steps already. We've got it down to 4 locations. And all bar something amazing happening, it's probably going to be one of those 4 locations. So I think there's a clear pathway emerging. I look forward to everybody bringing to the table their experiences of libraries, what they've seen elsewhere, working really well. As per Councillor Barnett's suggestion, we should also look for what doesn't work well and bring that to the table, because we want to avoid those mistakes and make sure that ours picks up the best from other people. I guess Councillor Evans has raised the image of it being world leading. My perspective on it is we want to make it the most useful it can be to our constituents in that sense. And if that's world leading, well and good. I have a building background. I love it when people pay me to build world leading things because they're usually too expensive and I make more money out of it. So we've got to be pretty tuned in on what our key objectives are. And I think the first task for the working group is to be really clear about what we're trying to achieve. And I think if we can nail that down, that really guides the start, and it will help us work out the best location. Then we can start working out which one of these sites meets those objectives the best. And as I've said before, I think the objectives are about what we want out of the library or the Library Plus. I also think it's about what we think that facility adds to the precinct that we put it in. So for me, it's a symbiotic relationship that we're looking for, and I think that's where we can do something better than Thomas Street, not just in size, but in how it's integrated or how it adds value to what's around it. And what's around it, in turn, adds value to what it is. So I don't know the answer to that, but clearly it's an objective of mine. I hope that you share that it can have an impact broader than just what's inside the doors. I look forward to seeing a process mapped out. We probably need a time frame director on how we're going to do this. We know the end date of the Thomas Street Centre. We probably need to factor in a construction period of 18 months, a design period of probably at least 6 months, an approval process. That may need to go to somebody else, not us. So we need to sort of map back where we're at so that we don't go off with the fairies at the bottom of the garden and play around and lose a year, and that embarrasses us at the end of the process. So we probably need a bit of discipline around it. And I think in terms of the working group, getting us to get to a location that's remote to look at lots of libraries is going to be logistically pretty tricky. So I might start taking on that challenge as of now, because I didn't know it's going to be all of us on it. But I look forward to that. But equally, I just put that out to all of us that we do our best to make ourselves available, because those trips are not just a chance to look at those physical locations, they're a chance to talk about what we've just seen together on the bus as we're doing it. And that can be really powerful discussion. So please make yourself as available as you can. And I know that's not easy because we've all got different workplaces, shifts, family obligations, but I think that's what we need to do if we want really the best result for our community. But I'm committed to, and thank you, Councillor Harris, for moving, Councillor Barnett for seconding it. It's a great project. Let's get on with it. Any further debate? Councillor Harris, to sum up.
Yes, just by adding one last comment that came in your wisdom speech there that made me think is, again, next year, the Narsworth Primary School again increases their student membership. So their pupils are going up. So they're sort of not a going the other way sort of set up. And no doubt when we do, that's why you made me think of it, the timing that these world-class buildings take, that when we get to that stage, we could be pushed along a bit, which we might not be happy with, but pushed along a bit because that community is growing, the demand for that building is. So I'm pretty sure all of us that put our name up we should zoom into that.
Okay, excellent. That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously.
With a flourish.
Oh, brilliant. Next item is item 15.3, feedback on liquor licensing discussion paper. Councillor Bowman, just a brief reason why you withdrew us.
Look, I'm really supportive of this, and I think...
I'll speak just a brief,
Okay.
so brief reason why you
Brief reason
withdrew us.
I'd like to change the attachment.
Okay, so you want to amend it?
Yes.
Okay, so that means you want to move it. Do I have someone who does wish to move it to get it on the floor in its current form? Councillor Evans? Wish to speak to it? No. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, that's not facing. Okay. Does a seconder, Councillor Lowe, wish to speak to it? Okay, back to you, Councillor Bowman.
So I guess what I'm going to do is move it.
Well, first of all, perhaps if you could speak to the item that you wish to amend just briefly, and then I can see how difficult it is and work out a good process for you.
Okay, thank you. So basically, in the attachment,
Attachment which one?
25 on page
Our letter?
3, page 2.
Yep.
There were some dot points around why we want to, thank you very much, increase vibrancy, reduce red tape, promote a safer drinking culture. But what I really wanted to reiterate is that we'd like to be a trial site, and I just wanted that to be a little bit bolder in the communications. So I communicated with the acting CEO in regards to a suggested amendment, so I'm willing to take input on it.
So, sorry, Councillor Bowman, we've got that as a second last paragraph specifically.
Yeah, whereas I just wanted it to be more front and centre, so as further up the, that's just me.
Do you have a suggestion on how you make that more prominent than its own paragraph?
Bump it up the letter and maybe put it as a dot point. Yeah.
Okay, we've got, I think the staff have, speaking to you, have got a suggestion. As shown as a change. Is that what you would be happy enough with that?
Yep. Input another recommendation.
So, in other words, add the words to where we're providing support for reform. First bullet point would be extended to offer us as a trial site, if necessary, to test potential expansion. Words if necessary, I presume, acting CEO, they made us change it anyway and don't need a trial site. Might just get access to the legislation anyway. Is that the purpose of those two words?
Through the mayor. So those two words are actually reiterating what we have slightly lower at the, I think the second last paragraph, saying that we want to be included if they were to consider the site and we want to be considered as a trial site.
Okay.
So basically it's just re-emphasizing the point that we want to be, put our hands up as a trial site.
So could I just suggest we expand what's in brackets to say if a trial site is necessary, or if a trial is necessary. So it might not be. Okay. So, Councillor Bowman, those words make you a happy councillor.
That's fine. Clearing up top.
Is anybody opposed to including those words? Not just anyone shaking their head. I'm going to seek leave of the meeting to incorporate the change. All those in favour of the change? Against? Sorry, you should just check the mover. You're happy to incorporate the change. The seconder, if you just put your hand up, just do that again. All those in favour of incorporating the change, thus incorporated. And is there any further debate from you, Councillor Bowman? Sorry, just to note, Councillor Evans and Lowe, your motion now has to include with minor amendments as per on the screen. Because we're actually you're moving to incorporate the letter of attachment 25, but we've just changed it. It's not in the published agenda. You okay with that? Yes. Good. And Any further debate on this item? None, that concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you. Next item withdrawn was item 19.4, which I've withdrawn because there's been some changes to the release of the draft strategic plan for community consultation in response to some feedback that the staff received, and thank you for that last feedback, noting that it's going out for consultation, so we've got plenty of time to modify and tweak, but as long as we don't change the intent, that is. And obviously we'll wait to see what the public say and make further changes in response to what they're saying. You've been given a copy of the changes. Wait, there's more. Such as that, the varied motion. So guys, just draw your attention to that. They are grammatical. Some of them are picking up the items as expressed by elected members. The ones of consequence, I'll just, in terms of a short briefing, ask the Director to point out the ones that are not just grammatical. Thank you, Director.
Through the Chair, and thanks for the question. As was stated, there were some grammatical issues, there was some capitalisation that probably shouldn't have been there, and there were some sentences that ran long. In the spirit of the discussions from the workshop and from the wordsmithing group, there was a couple of items that I guess departed from the idea of simple language. Everyday language that we use at City of Prospect includes on the top of the green page, place, the word corridors was used. We all use that talking about our urban corridors because that's the local rhetoric. But just in thinking about that, you know, people could assume that we're talking about the hallways of a building. So we just thought we'd make a change there. The sentence below that, the reason those words through partnerships with the community are highlighted, they're not new words, they've just come from the start of the sentence to the end, because it was really the only deliverable that we had that was a little bit in terms of a backward sentence, so to speak. We've also got rid of most times where we had an EG or an including, which, as you can see under a greener future, we had an including. A lot of that went without saying. If we would go over the page to prosperity, a stronger local economy. There was a discussion on a different matter about we just want relationships with federal and state government, not federal and state government stakeholders. We picked it up in one section but didn't pick it up here, so that's now in. And over the page to supporting services, town financial has another such as or including, which has been removed. We've also changed every reference to the city, or from the city to our city, for consistency. And on that last one, focus on a flexible work plan, etc. In re-looking at those words, we didn't actually know what they were trying to say, so we thought to remove confusion. If we don't know, how can we expect the collective to know? And that was really the only change of substance, because we felt that that deliverable was very clear without those words. Oh yeah, sorry. And the one above, Councillor Evans actually raised a matter which would have potentially been covered by, under accountable service delivery, improve council's internal systems and online services. That sentence in its own right was actually incorporated within another deliverable, separated it out to give it a little bit more weight and clout. See what the community think if we go out from there. Thank you.
Okay. Now, if there's a lot of conversation with this, I'll suspend meeting procedures. Who wishes to further address this, given this is going up for consultation? It's not being locked in. Anybody wish to question some of the words?
Can we vote on it? A couple of comments.
During debate, fine. That's good, thank you. So on the recommendation on page 72, we've got following strategies and deliverables. Sorry, might be page. What page is it? Sorry, it is 72. Following strategies and deliverables as part of the City of Prospect should be endorsed. So following means what's following on the screen. Okay, now on the screen is the updated version. I just triple check that in the Secretary. Yep. Without highlights. Can we just put including minor amendments, because otherwise you're going to be locked into sending out with yellow and fits and stuff. Sure. With minor, yeah, in there, yep, with minor administrative amendments. Be endorsed for community consultation, commencing at terrific. Okay, who's happy to move that way? Councillor Barnett, could you speak to it?
No, I think everybody most probably has said something before.
One of your best speeches, Councillor. Councillor Gruder, did you second?
Yeah, look, I'll make up for the Councillor Barnett not saying anything. I just want to say actually that we're a year down the track and we've actually got a draft. And in my extensive local government history, which is 2 terms, this is the quickest we've ever done. And so I just think it's fantastic. And I just want to probably acknowledge particularly the new elected members on board. Right? They've brought a different sort of perspective to the strategic plan. I think it's been really helpful, so thank you for that. And the fact that we've got something that we are going to be able to take out to the community easily and simply to talk to is fantastic. And also just acknowledge the work of the staff, because I know it's incredibly frustrating when we've got a group of 9 elected members around the table all have a slightly different idea or perspective on things. I think it's a really good result, and this is only consultation, it's not the final product, we can change things, that makes it an easy win.
Okay, thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Harris.
Yes, I'm going to support it quite happily, but I did want to point out one point, and I often try and take this advantage, and I will continue, is the other bit we had with the prosperity bit, and the first one, the international prospect, and going down in particular, 1, 2, 3, 4th line down, idea for retail commercial investment. Well, I understand a lot of people's intentions of these questions and answers. I again like to point out that again this week we found a whole lot of new products coming into Australia from China that have asbestos in them. So when we're in any shape or form of thinking these things, we should have that concentration on people's safety. Apart from that, I'm very happy to support the thing.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Lowe.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I'd like to ask the Director for Community Communications question. What will this look like when it goes out to public consultation? Once you've fixed up all the spelling and punctuation, all those other bits and pieces, what will the document look like? And the reason I ask that question is that, and Councillor Bowman might support me in this, what it looks like when it goes out will be critical to whether people look at it and glaze over or look at it and go, this is an engaging thing, I want to read this. So can you give us some insights into how this is going to look when it goes out?
Yeah, look, thanks for the question. Through the Chair, look, the intent, as we sort of touched on at the last workshop a little, there's more to the strategic plan than just this. And we weren't looking to send all that out for consultation for risk of, I guess, confusing. And a lot of that stuff, talking from the Mayor and CEO, demographics, links to state strategic plan, etc. That stuff can't be changed. So in an effort to get everybody to focus on what's real, the direction, and what can be changed, we actually thought that this simple sort of 4-pager with no extra excitement attached would actually, I'm not suggesting that it would necessarily inspire you to read it, but it would give a focus without confusing the message or without cluttering the message. So the intent was, this is the document for consultation. There'll be different ways of displaying that, like the terrific images associated with it. There can be pamphlets and images associated with it, but essentially, in order to get people to focus on the message, we thought we would strip away, I guess, all the things that sometimes go with the strategic plan at this point, so that the message can be what's focused on. That's the intent.
Thank you. Any further, Councillor Lovell?
I think it might be useful to include a very short and succinct part at the start, which is how to read this, because we've all been engaged in this process and we've worked out how to read it. But I think that could be quite a simple tool for people to say, I look at the first line and that's what this means. I look at the next line, italics, and that's what this means. And then look at the stuff below it. I understand what that means. So I'd encourage you to consider putting something like that at the start of the document, and people, I think that might be very helpful for people to be able to consume it more easily.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Bowman.
Yes, I would bring that up. So I think going back to communications, I think it's really important that any document that we give to the public is communication. And so the form that it's in is sometimes just important content. And certainly, as new elected members, as existing elected members, we want to see a document that's representative of our aspirations. And I know what we try to do is keep it simple in the actual content, but I don't think it has to be plain and boring and, because we want people to engage with it, we want people to comment on it. So I think maybe some resources or hours just going in to say, okay, how would this best be received, and whether that's, online or in a paper format, that would it be images or graphics, or how it would engage. I want the document to look a little bit aspirational and representative of what we're trying to achieve.
So at this phase, not just the final phase?
Not just, I want people to engage with this.
Yeah.
This is their part of this journey and their input. This is the chance for their input. So I'd like the document to reflect. It doesn't have to be a big document, but people have to go, oh wow, that looks different or new or digital or whatever it is that we're aspiring to be. So just, and it's a shame, I think, with the communication that this hasn't sort of come to the same point. But if this is something that they can get off the mark with, if we are engaging in communication person, it would be good to look at it.
Okay, thank you. Now, just briefly from the Chair, it might be good, Director, for you to circulate the engagement program or activities you've got. Sure, if it's one that you're consulting with other different groups, you're putting it onto the online panel, how you're going to do it, and therefore what formats are going out in. Just let us know by memo. I think if we've got an issue with that, we can raise it at the January meeting, which is around the time of terrific. So have a think about that when you decide you can do that, so we can get it, we can reflect on it. Any further debate on this item? No, Councillor Barnett, do you wish to sum up?
Yes, some good points made, and I, with my little eagle eye, have just seen another typo. On Verity, last line, vibrant nighttime, achieve access to small bar licences. There it's a noun, so it should be C and then ES. So that can be just taken on board. Anyway, so I'm just thinking that we have made a real effort here as a group, both elected members and our staff, for the plain English approach, for the let's get rid of the jargon and avoid what one Adelaide City Councillor was reported as saying is it's nothing but waffle. So I think that if we could, it would be good to make a really strong point saying, they've asked for it before, so hopefully we've hit the mark and we've tried to, get rid of so much of the jargon and just speaking quite plainly and simply and to you, and without a whole lot of wasting a whole lot more of our trees, So we've tried to be responsible environmentally as well as get a clear, plain English message to you, somewhere in the message would be appreciated.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Yes, it is unanimous. So I presume nobody will walk out of this chamber, talk to the media and say that was all full of waffle words.
Just the opposite.
It's a media here.
No. But because the message of press you read today about the newspaper which comes out tomorrow, it's amazingly you can read today. It says that that's the last messenger until 14th of January, Sunday, January.
Did you send us an email about that?
I've published it in tomorrow's messenger, which you can read today.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Now refer you back to the agenda. We have the council diary. Quick note, Farmers Market is on the Monday, not Thursday, because Thursday is Christmas Eve, it's on Monday. The Ukulele Challenge Workshop, there are two coming up on the 6th and 13th January, so if you're not already booked in, please book yourselves in, because I'll be making a fuss about how all the councillors are expert ukulele players for the day, so it's best that you become an expert
Careful what you say.
before you get there.
I've got my tuner, so I'm in the right key.
Excellent. Let's start. The Prospect Portrait Prize had a great opening and a crowd, and hopefully you can catch up with it. Just to note, the winning entry had sold 19 of the series of 20, and the gallery manager and I gave a nod to it because we have an acquisition program, a small budget, and said, why don't you buy the 20th one? So we have, and I think it's a really, really good piece of work. So that'll be coming our way sometime soon. And you can read the rest of the events there, including, of course, Terrific Prospects. So please use your networks to promote that event, and of course, to your friends as well. And I always encourage people to think about their family and friends and invite them and work out where they can park and walk down and get all that sort of stuff. So if that language works for you, then feel free to use it. General business, do we have any items of general business? Councillor Harris.
Yes, mate, I want to... yes, sir. Not to call you mate. I wanted to call for a report about drain covers, and a brief report, and without a rush on it, but sometime early next year, on the covers that we got around and the damage that happens to them, particularly mainly near the car yards, Main North Road, but also others, Moretti's. The son and I fixing up one there a Saturday morning. Is there another alternative to having them? Because the one, say, by Nissan's there, I would say your people to replace, it would be 4+ times in the last year that they've placed them all along there, opposite the air pole and those sort of places where turning vehicles are breaking them. They actually become a danger if they're not fixed, and I'm not accusing anyone of not fixing them. But, you know, Leon left a period of time, particularly with rains and that. So I'd like a report into it sometime next year to, is there something else we can do, or perhaps put plastic ones or something, and to see if there's a problem there. I believe there is.
Okay, so you don't want to put a time frame on it? You're happy for it to be sometime next year?
Okay, by March.
Report in by March.
To a workshop, as opposed to council, to a workshop, because if it comes up then we can discuss it here. We can only give a thing.
Yeah. The workshop by March.
Yes.
2016. 2016. I just added the words at the end. Alternatives that are more durable. So I think it's basically talking about it. Okay, thank you. Have a seconder. Councillor Bowman, further debate? Yes, sorry, Councillor Bowman.
Just briefly, again, I'd like to agree. I've seen a lot of damaged drain covers, and it also speaks to the issue we've had with car parking on the verges by the car yard. So, again, slightly different, but that could be incorporated in the workshop as well.
Yeah, thank you. Any further debate? Concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Sorry, Councillor Group, I missed it. You already put one in writing. Thanks, Dad. Apologies accepted.
So my motion is Council Administration prepare a report for January 2016 Council meeting on the cost for the final stage of the Memorial Gardens playground upgrade, with a focus on play for 0 to 5-year-olds, including options to progress this upgrade in whole or in part within the 2015-16 financial year. So most of you, I presume most people around the table, if not all people around the table, have been to Memorial Gardens since the fantastic upgrade is finished. It opened about 3 weeks ago on the weekend. No doubt it's a really great place to be, and lots of people are giving me fantastic feedback about the playground. We had lots of debate here over the last probably 2 or 3 years around what that playground was going to look like. We debated things like fences and equipment and a whole range of things. And I think we've got a really good product there at the moment. But there's just something missing. And if you go there and you go to the beach shade sale that was so kindly donated by the Lions Club, and you can actually sit right underneath it and there's nothing around you. And there's a big vacant area. And it was unfortunate that that's there. It's there for a good reason in one sense, that when the work was being done and the toddler swing and basket was installed, the existing piece of equipment we had to be moved. I don't think there was anything terribly wrong with the equipment, but it was in the fall zone of some of the other equipment, so it had to be removed. Of course, in doing that, we've now been left with vacant space. And some of the feedback I've been getting from residents is that for the smaller toddlers, so the little 0 to 5, there's not much for them to do because that's the piece of equipment that's not there. We don't want young people falling through drains, and we also want to make sure there's something for them to do with Memorial Gardens. And so there are
could stay in their pram.
They could stay in their pram. That can be fun as well, I don't know. There is that sort of concern that there is not that piece of equipment there. It's in the longer term plan for Memorial Gardens, and there were 3 bits of equipment that weren't installed in this latest upgrade. The junior play structure, the junior treehouse, and the Rabbit Spring Rocker, which sounds pretty exciting. And have a look at the website, you can see a picture of the Rabbit Spring Rocker at your leisure. But what I'd like to do is just have a report prepared for us so that we can consider if there's options for us with any savings that we might or might not have for this financial year to bring forward at least one of those pieces of equipment, or maybe 2 or maybe 3, into that area so that those younger children are also being catered for. We're not asking for money at this point, obviously. We're just asking for a report back in January. We can make a decision as we do for any budget bits outside the normal budget process. I have spoken to the acting CEO and Director of Infrastructure and Assets and Environment, so they're aware of this and aware of the timelines around the report. I do want this to come back to January, because otherwise, if we go much longer, there'll be no use in trying to do something this financial year. So I commend the motion to you. I think it's just a bit of information that would be useful to have, and certainly will fill that void underneath that beautiful shade structure in the Memorial Gardens.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bowman, just speak to any further debate? All those in favour? Against, carried unanimously. Just worried that we'll get the go-ahead in February. We'll say yes and we'll order it and it'll arrive in the rain in May. Oh, well, what's your point? It's got a thinking. It's a shade structure, it'll be fine, it'll turn into a roof with heating. Kids will love it.
Beautiful May weather.
Anyway, it's great that our community want us to keep making things better and better. Okay, so any further general business? Councillor Griffin.
So can I'm just going to indulge this for a moment, and it's not really an item of general business, but some people might be aware that last Wednesday an ex-Prospect resident, Nicholas Rybrock, was very tragically killed in Sydney on a bike. Some of you might know Nicholas. I know some people around town know Nicholas. He did work for Acton Centre for a while. He's engaged to a Prospect resident, and I just thought it would be useful to, or helpful just so people are aware of that. There's a celebration of his life tomorrow at Coogee. So he lives in Sydney at the moment, or living in Sydney, and there'll be something later on, I think in January, so that you might know. In Adelaide, just to celebrate his life. So it's very, very tragic. He was on a bike ride in the morning, at 6 in the morning, and unfortunately got hit by a car and passed away. So I just thought we should just acknowledge that there's been a lot of death in our Prospect community over the last few weeks, and this is very sadly another one that we should be reporting. So just want to let you know.
Thank you. And if you perhaps website when that is on Prospect, that'd be great. And as I understand it, he slid in front of the car. The car driver was kind of just as suspicious as everybody else. Yeah. Yeah, terrible. Okay, no further general business? The rest, Councillor Barnett?
Yes, it just reminds me, I think it might be Hobart as a council to acknowledge another long-time Prospect resident in former Premier John Bannon and his death. Been reported widely in the news and acknowledging what a fine, I would say, gentleman in that. I was reminiscing that I remember one of the first times I saw John Bannon was when he lived in Milner Street, and he was out mowing his verge with a hand mower, which is, I think would be fairly typical of the person. and then later when he came to live in Olive Street. Again, it's been commented, we've had quite a few people passing on, and so I just think that as a city we should acknowledge another one of our fine residents.
So you used to move that I write to the family or something for that?
Yes, I think that would be most appropriate. Leave the wording up to your mayor.
Well, perhaps that council,
Council.
The mayor writes to the family of former citizen and Premier John Bannon, expressing its condolences and thanks for his contribution over many years. Angela, his wife, was here at South Shop on Prospect Road for some time.
Yes.
Our condolences and our thanks for his contribution to our city
And state.
and state over many years.
Yes, and because he was a fine historian as well.
Like that, all sorts of stuff, but there's specifically on behalf of our city that we're here. Do you have to move that way, Councillor Harris? Would you be happy to second?
I'm very happy to second it.
Speak to it.
Just briefly, he did portray a lot of the city, particularly during the Vietnam days, where in our fair city a lot of people were opposed to the American war in Vietnam, and he was a very strong comrade underneath the paperwork. Proud man.
And I think from the chair, thank you, Councillor Barnett and Councillor Harris. I'm not sure we've had another premier from our city, but it's something that we should recognise and think pretty highly of. He lived in Olive Street before that, Vilma Street, so he's right in the heart of the city, and so you're living in a premier street, Councillor Gruder, I hope you're looking after it. And it was he was an ordinary bloke in an ordinary street. He never, in my view, put a sign at the front saying, I'm the premier, pretty time if you walk past my house.
Yes, in Olive Street he was.
No, he lived there. You wouldn't know. He was just an ordinary citizen in our city, but he did do things, and certainly his wife did as well. That contributed to
Both wives.
the health of the city. Both wives, correct? Yeah. So they had two marriages, and I recall I've met him a number of times, and he's always been incredibly humble and chatted about whatever was current at the time. He spent his latter time living in the city on the East End apartments, and had a big property at Wistow, so I got to know him through my family connections up at Wistow, and he completely replanted, I think, 30 hectares of farmland up there to be native bushland again. He's incredibly proud of the impact he's had over that time. So he's a big Trees for Life person, and that apparently is an amazing place to see, and natural, not like a botanic garden. And so that was just one of the many things that he did. So I'm pretty stoked that we've had a premier come from the city, and his nature is what I'm most impressed by. Notwithstanding that being premier is a tough job, as he certainly found. So I'm very happy to endorse the motion, very happy to write to them on your behalf, should you support this. Any further debate from other people, Councillor Barnett, if you have the right to sum up? Anyone else wishes to speak? No? Councillor Barnett.
Yes, I've just got to say that if anybody wishes, the funeral has been held at 1 o'clock on a Monday at St Peter's Cathedral, I think. Yes, and a state funeral. And also I was wondering, is our flag flying at 5:30? I think that's the usual.
That's a question within your summing up that I shouldn't be dealing with. I don't believe so, but we can talk about that after the meeting about what's appropriate for that. Yeah. Thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you. I see another hand go up for general business. Councillor Larwood.
I'm not sure who the director for Dog Matters is.
They all leap because they want to be the director for Dog Matters. So,
I'll direct the question to you.
Okay.
There was a report from a resident that a dog ran out from St Helens Park in the off the leash time on a Prospect Road and got hit by a car. Didn't die, so I can't answer that. I wonder whether we've had any report of that, and if we've had any reports of other similar incidents.
Thank you. Direct question.
Through the Mayor? No.
Right.
Just from my knowledge, I haven't. We've had it years ago. We had a request to fence the Prospect Road end of St Helens Park to prevent that occurring, but we had no record of any incidents.
Yep.
And council at the time said that we didn't want the whole park to become a dog park, so we said no, we don't fence. Generally, we don't fence our large parks. Certain fence of the small ones. But that's. I think that answer was given, and since then we've had no further requests of that type. So that's all I can add to that. Any further items of general business? If not, move on to general business of an urgent nature. Is there any general business of an urgent nature? Councillor Stan has notified us he'd like us to consider one thing. Still willing it?
Yep.
Okay, fire away.
Yeah, I'd like to move a motion that DPTI be contacted immediately regarding the proposed ban on right-hand turns from Regency Road into Hillsdale Road, recommending that works on the intersection be delayed due to a significant community opposition arising from DPTI's own initial consultation, and recommending that more thorough community consultation process be conducted. When I got the responses back from the DPTI consultation, was quite amazed that 11 people didn't want it to go ahead, 5 people did, and 11 needed more information, and we still don't know whether those people actually got information. But if you just look at the respondents, yes and no, we had basically a 2-to-1 that didn't want it to go ahead, and I think that's significant enough for them just to put the brakes on it a bit and just go back and find out what the community really want.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Come on, you kids.
Councillor Harris, with respect to it?
Only briefly, yes, I can't see a problem. I do see a problem because if they've got a plan to go ahead and build a road, they will. But I don't see a problem in asking some more questions and trying to get some answers, because over on the other side of the road, there is 2 proposals that have come to us, I think. But it's been discussed by us briefly about on Hampstead Road turning right into Collin Road and 3rd Avenue. So I'm interested to see these. I think they're good for our neighbourhood to maybe stop it, but I support this on the grounds that it's good for our neighbourhood to know what they want as well.
Thank you. So can I just make easy to this? In your speech you've said it's okay, we'll just go back and get some answers. The purpose of this motion specifically is that they stop work and starting and do another community consultation process. So just so you're aware of the intent of what you're moving.
Okay, I just faced reality, that was all. I'm sorry, Mayor. That I support this, asking them to stop and have a look. But I threw the last sentence in because I said reality, they're building something, they'll just most probably go ahead and do it. But I actually support asking them to stop.
Right, okay, that's clear, thank you. Any further speakers to this? Councillor Lee.
I won't be supporting the motion. One, we voted on it. We've had lots of information. We voted on it at the last meeting. It's a little late. Secondly, it feeds into a bigger picture, and there has been extensive consultation over months and months and months and months. The fact that 11 people opposed it is not enough to change an entire plan that runs from Regency Road right up to Roble Fitzroy Terrace. I can never remember what it's called. It's a bigger picture, and it will inconvenience some people, but the convenience to the community in the big picture of a bicycle boulevard, getting from across our city on a bike safely, is far more important than a bit of niggling about a right-hand turn. So I won't be supporting it. We voted on it. It's a little late.
Further speakers, Councillor Barnett.
Yes, I mean, I just look at it more in the totality. There were 2,000. So if you look at 11 compared with 2,000, could have, had the opportunity to say yay or nay, I mean, some people say, oh, well, that's the silent majority, but nevertheless, if you feel strongly about something, I feel that maybe would have got more response than just 11 against, and then we've got the 5 opposed and 11 that we don't know. So, yeah. So.
Thank you. Councillor Group.
Yeah, thank you. Look, this is a vexed issue. I'm curious though on those that haven't responded or want more information. Do we have any sense to the Mayor, the appropriate director, I'm not sure which one it is, whether we had any further information about what they wanted or whether they got the information they wanted?
Thank you, Director.
Through the Mayor, the information, they did get the information they requested. It was more about the type of plateaus, what they would look like and the impact on the junction. That was really what the request was about.
So it's unlikely that they were then not agreeing to the overall proposal. It sounds like they just want some more information. So I think that's just an important point, that we can't necessarily assume they were supportive of it, but we can't also necessarily assume they were not supportive of the project as a whole. I think that would be a fair.
This is kind of important. I did ask the Director to give us some insight into what the 11 opposed, because I wasn't sure that the 11 opposed the right hand turn. There's lots of elements of providing the plan. Can I just indulge you just for a second, Director? Can you give us some insight into what feedback we got?
Yeah, through the Mayor, I haven't got that information at hand, what the 11 exactly opposed to. I can provide that information through a memorandum. I can take that on notice if the members are interested. But I do want to restate, there were some 1,000 letters that went out, and out of those 1,000, we only got 27 responses. So usually with those type of surveys, when we get no responses, we tend to think that they tend to agree with what we're doing out
there. Okay, thank you, Councillor Group.
Look, thank you. I agree, it would be really useful to know about those again. We're not going to know that before we make a decision tonight, which is unfortunate. I think there is this point around consultation. So it's a vexed issue. If you don't hear from people, what does that mean? Does it mean that they're apathetic and they're not happy? Does it mean that they're quite okay with it? We'll never know. We'll never know the answer to that. I think on balance for this one, I would suggest that they are probably not, they're not opposed to it because that we haven't heard. And I know that whenever I run anything, we were in Flora Terrace 2 weeks ago with 20, 30 described people around driveways. They came out, they told us what was going on, and there was no shrinking violence. I've not been approached by this Spady resident about this. I'm not sure how people have as well. So that's one issue that I've got. The other one is around this more thorough community consultation process, and I don't know what the mover meant by that. So I don't know, Standard might address that in summing up, but I just don't understand what more we could do when we actually write to people, talk to people, and go through those processes. It was a deputy process as I understand it, so they wrote to them. Of course, not everyone's going to read a letter written to them by the government. Absolutely understandable, but they have the opportunity to if they want to. So I'm just not sure what might be proposed to do further consultation and whether that's actually feasible. And we have to make decisions too on what's feasible and appropriate. So on balance, I'm not particularly supportive, but I could be moved by the summing up.
Thank you. Councillor Bowman.
I'm not going to be supporting the motion, however, I do understand Councillor Stanton's frustration because I had the same issue in the Memorial Gardens, a small amount of feedback from the general public to make a face a decision on, and I think you won't be representing their community, and I think it's really hard when you don't get. And it was actually Dipty, I think, that did the consultation in this respect, not the council. So yeah, so that's, I guess we don't have control over that particular process, but certainly I think the consultation process could be looked at, but I won't be supporting.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Evans.
I think just a couple of points, and I'm supportive of the Boulevard project and noting that Regency Road and movement around Regency Road is an issue that we've covered with what we were talking about at the previous council meeting. That I don't think should be read in the context of wanting to stop the Boulevard project though. So Dipty seemed committed, and through our discussions that we had at the pre-meeting dinner last month, Dipty did see it necessary to do these changes to Regency Road to ensure that bikes can move safely through the Boulevard across Regency Road. That is an objective I think broadly we're supportive of, that we want more bikes on Braun Road. We want more bikes using the boulevard, and Regency Road was deemed to be an important component of that, so we were advised by Deputy. So completely understanding that there are, I guess, logistical issues around Regency Road that need to be worked through, I'm supportive of them continuing the boulevard project on the basis that I think the benefits will outweigh what will be an impact on Regency Road, noting that those concerns that Councillor Stanton's raised.
Further debate? Just from the Chair, these things are always difficult. There's no traffic intervention we make that doesn't make some people unhappy. Before and after, during, they're always pretty best. We are stopping right-hand turns out of the end of Braun onto Fitzroy Terrace, and I've got no doubt we're going to get heckled by people about that. That's going to have a much more impact on people than this, because a lot of people travel south on Broad up, dropping kids up to school and they're going to work. However, that's a huge crash statistic, and so I feel we should pay attention to that. This one is much more about, I agree, the bike boulevard. If it doesn't have a safe crossing of Regency, it becomes a dead end, somewhat contained by Regency. No, I don't think that's fair enough. I think we need to be serious about our bike routes, put money into it. We've invested in it on Churchill and Prospect Roads, and we're investing in it with the state on Braun Road, getting it through here. There's no doubt that if you're on a bike trying to cross on those main roads safely, it's pretty tricky unless you're very adept on a bike. Well, these things aren't made for cyclists like Councillor Larwood and me. They're made for mums, they're made for kids, they're made for occasional riders, they're made for grandparents, and that's why you need to have refuges in the roads. As soon as you want a refuge in the middle of the main road, it will stop something. It'll stop a turn, it'll stop some freedom, it'll stop people crossing white lines, it'll interfere with people getting out of driveways. So whenever this happens, I'm always aware there will be winners and losers. In this case, cyclists will be winners, those who wish to take up cycling, and there will be some losers, and there'll be people who want to turn right into Hillsdale. They'll need to find an alternative route, Prospect Road or one of the other streets to turn into. That's inevitable. I'm happy to cop it on the chin. I won't be supporting this on those grounds, not just because I think an outcome like this is inevitable, but I think the Deputy's process of writing to everybody, 1,000 people, is pretty good. There's been a working group going through council for a long time. The ward councillors haven't raised this as an issue, and I know Councillor Evans is particularly good at having his radar up down that end of the neck of the woods because that's where he lives, and hasn't been raised by them. So on balance of outcomes, I won't be supporting the motion, and I hope that you get on with it. I hope we get the best outcome we can get. So just in case it becomes a tight vote, I've got to let you know where I stand. Sorry, Councillor Stanton, but that's where I stand. Do we have any further debate? I think most people have had a go. Anyone else?
So sum up.
Ken? Yes, now. Okay, Stan, go.
While you've all been talking, I've just done the math on the community consultation they did, and it was from 30th October 2015. The community were given to the 24th of November 2015. Now, curiously, 24th of November was our last council meeting. That was a Tuesday. So they couldn't have actually given us, they were actually they presented to us without that consultation having been finished, and we then voted on the Tuesday without having seen any of that consultation. So we actually never saw any of that consultation while we were voting on this process. The thing that annoyed me was that they changed all this. This was one of the things that they changed right. I know Councillor Monica basically said before, this has been going on for a long time. They changed this, from what I understand, is because Miller Street was not going to be viable. So they changed it, and then right at the end of the process, they threw this in. So they go from the 30th to the 24th, and then there was we were not told of any of that consultation. So it's been thrown in right at the end. I don't think it should stop the boulevard, and I don't think it should stop work on the boulevard, but I truly don't believe that this has been given proper consideration. It's been stapled onto the end of a very long process, and we weren't given any time to actually digest the results of the community consultation. They weren't presented to us at the workshop when the boulevard was presented, and they certainly weren't, the consultation was still open when we all voted on it. So I don't think proper procedure has actually been followed here.
Thank you. Give us something up. That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is lost.
We were told about that. We were told about that.
We can't be. The consultation
No,
is
not
still
the
open.
consultation, but we were told about what.
Yeah, but how can you present them as
The
consultation?
Chamber is a place for people to raise these matters, us to have a democratic vote on it. That's been done, and no doubt there's further conversations to be had around how it can be best implemented. Then please direct those to the Director. He'll get them through to Jyoti. Any other matters of an urgent nature? No, that being the case, I'll take us through now to confidential items. In order to exclude the public, item 23.1, Australia Day Citizens Year Award 2016. Anybody wish to move the order to exclude public? Councillor Barnett, Councillor Group, wish to speak to it? All those in favour? Against, it's carried. So we're just turning the camera back on because we're out of confidence. We okay now?
That's why I couldn't see it on my iPad.
Manager of confidentiality, that's your new title. Now we're going to move to item 23.3, which is order to exclude the public for the CEO recruitment process. Note that the recommendation on the screen is slightly different to your report, which included the standard one, which includes our directors. In this case, it's not appropriate, so I've spoken all about that because we don't know what we're going to resolve just yet, so you can understand that. So note that this will only leave the Minutes Secretary as the only staffer in the room. So it's different to what's in the papers. Anybody wish to move that way? Councillor Proof, wish to speak to it? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harris, wish to speak to it?
No, thank you.
Any further debate? All those in favour? Against is carried. Thank you. Thank you, staff. We'll come and get you. The result? The brand new Greek restaurant on Prospect Road.
What a response to Councillor Sanders' Kindy Director of the